Welcome to today's podcast, where we're going to be discussing technology within the education sector and device as a service in particular. My name's Mark Welti, and I'm the UK Pursuit Lead for Device as a Service for Lenovo.
Nice to be here, Mark. Nice to see you all. My name is Myles Spittle. I am the EMEA Transition Management Office Leader. Ultimately, my team is responsible for onboarding any customers into Lenovo's managed services, making it a smooth, seamless experience. So Mark, we're here to talk about DaaS specifically today.
Absolutely. So it's important to understand the complexities of implementing DaaS within an education setting. School environments are defined by people of all ages, all capabilities, usually logging on at the same times during the day. That's obviously very different to an office environment where people sit at their desks for most of the day and things are moving at a kind of much steadier pace. The most important thing within a school time period is the time between the teacher and the students. Many schools are also on a tight budget, and obviously the number of students will fluctuate from year to year. As such, schools need a technology solution that is robust, flexible, and with no unforeseen expenses because of accidental damage, things like that. And that's where DaaS comes into the picture. What's your view?
Look, I think just expanding what you said, right, it's more than just a device. For me, the device is kind of the tool, but the service and the value that adds to the, to the end users, that's where, it really earns its value. So we've touched on the financial piece. Schools, education sector, kind of establishments, they no longer need to spend large sums of capital up front, large sums of money. Instead, they can rely on the fact they've got a predictable monthly rate that they can kind of spend. They know what they're going to spend, they can predict. And that then enables them also to leverage access to the latest technology. So if they're buying the device up front, they've got to do something with it. They might end up using that for 4 or 5 years and it slips behind the curve. Whereas under DaaS, they're able to get the latest devices after a set term, say 2 to 3 to 4 years. And so they've always got access to that latest tech. Kind of building on that point, that then adds value with sustainability as well, right? Because we're taking that device back, we're brokering it down, we might use it for parts, we may give it to charity and put it to a good cause. But at the end of the day, the educational establishments, they've got what they need, which is the latest tech. Kind of building a bit further on that tech, it's not just the hardware. I opened with that, I should probably expand on that. So it's also the software, the image, the security side of things. So, rather than IT teams having to worry about getting all of their pupils into the office or the teachers into the IT rooms to get the latest software installed, because applications are always evolving, that can all be done remotely now. It can all be driven by us rather than the IT teams having to do that. And it's kind of, I mentioned security, but again, the devices are up to date. Schools, you've got potentially vulnerable people. There's a lot of personal data. So us taking over, ensuring the devices' security is maintained, and giving that trust to the schools, to the different establishments in the sector, it gives them that peace of mind. So I guess, Mark, should we talk about how that works in the real world?
Yes, sure. So let's look at a case study of one of Lenovo's DaaS customers. We had Adeland's private school based out in our Nordic region, and like many schools during the pandemic, DaaS played a crucial role in helping them switch to remote learning. I mean, with their existing devices, they were due to be refreshed, so they seized the opportunity to rethink their IT strategy in general. So what DaaS did, it enabled them to bundle devices, services into predictable, affordable monthly payments. And this included high-end laptops, on-site repair services, and accidental damage protection, which I think is probably an essential service in any education environment. So basically, the entire solution just ensured a seamless, secure learning experience for the students, and it also helped to maximize the learning time, which is the essential thing. And obviously with that, with all the services and everything bundled in, they also had access to the latest collaboration tools, meaning students didn't miss out at all.
Exactly that. And I think we touched a bit on having people being able to focus on their priorities, right? The teachers are teaching, students are learning. The IT teams are focusing on the strategic items rather than the little bits around the end user's device, right? So for me, it's that holistic environment, isn't it? We talked about accessibility, but if someone does break a device, they can just pick go get a spare device, or it gets fixed pretty quickly, and they're just up and running. They're able to focus on doing what they do best. The support, through Premier support, our managed service desks, etc. Also our proactive capabilities. It's all about minimizing that downtime, right? They're getting a white glove service, a really good experience, which again will lead on to customer sat, which we'll talk about in a bit. And just re-emphasizing the uptime piece, right? We're taking that software deployment, maintaining the device off of the IT team's hands. So when they're focusing on their piece, they're not having to worry about, mass outages, which ultimately impacts learning, especially as we move into that hybrid environment, right? Where it's harder to service all of your end users. So I think, Mark, I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, well, I completely agree. I mean, DaaS doesn't just help when it comes to acquiring the latest technology and implementing it. We're talking about a true end-to-end solution, aren't we? From consultation to end of life. I mean, this includes processing the devices after collection at their end of life, testing and preparing them for resale where it's possible. So not only does this give institutions peace of mind knowing assets have been disposed of securely, but it also helps with the sustainability piece as well, as we discussed, because they're then reused or recycled. So, Myles, obviously we've been talking about the importance of DaaS in education, but let's shift our focus to, I know, a subject close to your heart, delivery. Why is delivery so key to making it a seamless experience for customers?
Yeah, I'm going to start with transition, right? So service delivery, I think, it's that life cycle. So if I start with transition, that's the piece that is up front. They've decided to go with DaaS and the managed services, but they've got an existing way of operating. They've got a current mode of operations, whether that's with internal teams, with an external vendor. The whole point of transition is to work with that incumbent, whoever that may be, and to seamlessly move to the new operating model. We've talked a lot about the end users, so teachers, students, etc. It's making sure they're not impacted, right? So it's, my team's job is to make sure that the customer is extremely confident that that's going to all take place. They're going to get to their new service, get their new hardware, any other pieces that they're procuring, and the end users aren't going to be impacted. Then we move into service delivery. Again, it's around control. It's around them being able to understand what's going on. So service delivery's role is effectively to manage the solution, right? But they almost become an extension of their IT team. They are looking after the devices. They're reporting back, on this number of incidents, making recommendations. If there's, a release of a new security patch, proactively saying, look, we've done the assessment, we're going to deploy, do you agree? Just taking that weight off of the end customers' sort of IT teams, right? But then for me, service delivery, it also is all tied to customer satisfaction. And especially with the educational sector, I think there's multiple customers in that. You've got the IT team, so they're the guys, like I say, they're benefiting from being able to focus on more strategic things rather than, break fix, ordering new laptops, things that can be or deploying software, but things that can be very time consuming, but actually big picture aren't as adding as much value as thinking about the strategic roadmap, digital transformation, how to move from point A to point B and make a better learning experience. Then the other kind of end user customer for me is the end user, so the teacher and the student. So the service delivery team's job is to make sure that everything you've said, they maximize that learning time. The teachers are being able to do the best by their students, impart as much knowledge as possible, and the students are able to, gather that knowledge and learn as best they can. And I know I've talked a lot about the software deployment, but we're deploying the latest software, making sure they've got what they need through some of our kind of like unified endpoint management services. Again, it's just, I hope I'm explaining myself well enough in terms of it's a full cycle to enable people to do what they do best.
Yeah, I mean, agreed. That's why at Lenovo, obviously, we prioritise a customer-centric approach in every aspect, including delivery, as you say. It's about understanding the unique needs of our customers and working closely with them to design a custom solution, which just ensures the entire process is seamless, to be honest. So our goal, realistically, is not just to provide technology, but to contribute to the success and satisfaction of our customers and their environments as well.
Yeah. So I think, we've talked about the education sector's specific needs. Ideally, we've demonstrated how DaaS meets those needs. So I'm hoping people have benefited from this. So thank you very much. I appreciate the time, Mark. I hope you...
Yeah, no, thank you very much for joining us, and we hope you enjoyed the podcast.